Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Martial Universe Season 6 based on novel. So let's start. The Scarlet Hurricane was spinning with a terrifying speed above the boundless Pill River. The crazy energy waves that it was releasing were enough to make a 3-yuan nirvana staged practitioner palpitate with fear. Lin Dong's figure was sitting silently in the middle of that hurricane. His facial expression was incredibly solemn, while faintly containing a tinge of nervousness as well. Clearly, even he himself did not dare to be too reckless when dealing with the third nirvana tribulation. In this world, there were a lot of talented geniuses who had died during these nirvana tribulations. All these years, Lin Dong had to fight bitterly in order to gain the success that he enjoys today. Therefore, before he becomes the best in the universe, he did not want to join the ranks of those pathetic fallen geniuses. Boom! The hurricane swirled around the training platform. Suddenly, numerous streaks of scarlet nirvana flames shot out and blasted towards the seated Lin Dong. Originally, nirvana tribulation is a kind of tribulation that occurred within a practitioner's body. However, as the number of nirvana tribulations one went through increased, the difficulty of the nirvana tribulations will increase as well. Take this third nirvana tribulation for example. Not only would the nirvana tribulation attack from within one's body, but it would also activate the nirvana chi between heaven and earth and carry out an attack from the outside. By then, the internal attack and the external attack would coincide and catch one completely off guard. Right now, Lin Dong was situated in the middle of the Pill River. The nirvana chi present in the Pill River was extremely dense. As such, the kind of attack from the nirvana tribulation would be much more stronger and troublesome to deal with. Streaks of scarlet nirvana flames whizzed downwards like meteors that fell through the sky. Eventually, accompanied by violent energy waves, they collided ruthlessly onto Lin Dong's body. Bang bang. Muffled explosions could be heard repeatedly throughout Lin Dong's body. That kind of scorching heat was corroding Lin Dong's body frantically. However, at this moment, the green dragon skin that was covering Lin Dong's body began to display extraordinary defensive abilities. As the faint green light diffused, it completely isolated the incoming spiraling nirvana flames from Lin Dong's skin. On the surface, it seemed like Lin Dong was being engulfed by raging nirvana flames. However, if one was to take a closer look, one would observe that a faint green glow was flickering on Lin Dong's skin. Furthermore, even though the green glow might seem weak, it was actually what kept the nirvana flames from penetrating Lin Dong's skin. Naturally, Lin Dong knew everything about the external attack. Hence, when he saw the attacking nirvana flames being stopped completely by the green dragon skin, he silently heaved a sigh of relief. However, soon after, he became anxious once again. That was because he knew that even though the external attacks might be troublesome, he knew that he could handle it. However, the truly thorny matter was the attacks that came from within his body. Lin Dong's attention was focused on scanning the inside of his body. His yuan power was flowing rapidly through his bones and limbs, preparing to come to the aid of any parts of his body that were in trouble at all times. Lin Dong's wait did not last too long before he saw a wisp of black-colored flame appearing mysteriously. Nirvana Demon Flame. When Lin Dong saw this wisp of black-colored flame, his heart contracted firmly. This thing was the most troublesome problem of the third nirvana tribulation. Once its terrifying melting power proliferated in the body, all the internal organs would be melted in an instant without a trace. Previously, Lin Dong had seen this kind of flames in the nirvana burning sky array, and he even subdued the flames. After that, Lin Dong was able to use the flames and put Lin Langtian in an unknown life or death situation. Thus, he knew everything about the destructive powers of the flames. It has finally arrived. Lin Dong muttered softly in his heart. Soon after, without saying anything unnecessary, he focused his mind and channeled out his yuan power, which completely engulfed that wisp of black-colored flame. TCH. As if it had sensed Lin Dong's action, that wisp of nirvana demon flame started to act as well. With a sway of its body, its terrifying melting power started to extend outward swiftly. Immediately, the yuan power that engulfed it was melted with a visible speed. Troublesome thing. Upon seeing this, even though Lin Dong already prepared for it mentally, he still could not help but curse it. He then quickly channeled an even larger amount of yuan power, and surrounded the nirvana demon flame. No matter what, he could not let the melting power of the nirvana demon flame extend to the vulnerable, but important internal organs in his body. The only way to withstand something like the nirvana demon flame was to make use of the vigor of yuan power and put out the flame by brute force. However, this method required an enormous exhaustion of yuan power. When individuals who had weak foundation tried to survive this nirvana tribulation, due to their deficiency in yuan power, the nirvana demon flame would wreak havoc in their bodies and ultimately cost them their lives. The foundation of Lin Dong's yuan power was rather strong. Therefore, it would not be too stressful for him when he used this method for quite a while. However, he clearly understood that there would not just be one wisp of nirvana demon flame appearing in the third nirvana tribulation. Otherwise, there would not be so many practitioners who had fallen at this stage. That frail wisp of nirvana demon flame was engulfed by vigorous yuan power. No matter how much it released its melting power, it still could not break out of the yuan power. Instead, as it constantly released its melting power, it began to melt gradually till the point when it finally dissipated completely. Just as the wisp of nirvana demon flame disappeared, Lin Dong's chest tightened up immediately. He knew that what coming next was the main highlight. Lin Dong's highly anticipated wait lasted for approximately half a minute before an activity was detected inside of his body. Speckles of black-colored glow extended mysteriously in his body. Finally, like a vast sky full of stars, these speckles of black glow materialized into hovering black flames. Upon witnessing such an amount, Lin Dong firmly heaved in a breath of cold air. Then, surging yuan power whizzed out of his dantian, and engulfed those nirvana demon flames with a terrifying speed before they could release their melting powers. Boom! At the moment when the flames were being engulfed by the yuan power, Lin Dong knew that an extremely arduous to-and-fro tussle was about to start. Horrifying melting powers were released in an intimidating amount. 1/10 of the yuan power in Lin Dong's body was melted within a few minutes' time. At this moment, the terrorizing aspect of the nirvana demon flame was revealed gradually. Facing such a huge exhaustion of yuan power, Lin Dong's facial expression became somber. Luckily, he did not panic. He understood that if he panicked at this moment, it would be the end for him. While keeping his heart calm, Lin Dong systematically drew out a steady flow of yuan power from his dantian. He would immediately send the yuan power to whichever part of his body that could not resist the flames anymore. No matter what, he could not let these nirvana demon flames injure the inside of his body. That was because it would be a fatal blow. Lin Dong's performance was rather good. However, the amount of nirvana demon flames that appeared this time around was rather large, making it particularly difficult to deal with. That kind of powerless exhaustion made Lin Dong's eyebrows to involuntarily knit. Naturally, the nirvana demon flames did not care about Lin Dong's emotions. They continued to burn ragingly and emit their terrorizing melting powers. It seemed that they had vowed not to give up until Lin Dong had been completely melted. In this kind of stalemate battle, Lin Dong's yuan power was melting rapidly. After about 10 minutes, approximately half of the yuan power in his body had already been depleted. However, these nirvana demoni flames did not show any sign of disappearing. Instead, they were burning with increasing fervor. Upon seeing this, Lin Dong sighed deeply. With a jolt of his mind, boundless mental energy gushed out abruptly from his Niwen palace, which eventually replaced his Yuan power. When his mental energy replaced the Yuan power entrapping the nirvana demon flames, Lin Dong's mind jolted again, and a wave of devouring power was emitted. At this moment, the nirvana chi from the surrounding heaven and earth surged swiftly into Lin Dong's body, replenishing the Yuan power that had been exhausted. Lin Dong was different from other nirvana practitioners. Not only did he possess a remarkable achievement in the mastery of his Yuan power, he also had an extraordinary attainment in the mastery of his mental energy. He was proficient in both types of energy. If he was to use them concurrently, he could engage in an overwatch battle with these nirvana demon flames. This was one advantage that Lin Dong possessed. The turn for the better seemed to occur right now. Facing an overwatch battle with the two types of energy, even the nirvana demon flames would have to suffer. Some weaker wisps of nirvana demon flames were already gradually showing signs of disappearing under such resistance. However, even though the situation seemed to change for the better, Lin Dong did not show signs of slacking off. As long as these nirvana demon flames were not extinguished completely, they could still emit terrifying energy in an instant. Hence, there was no room for negligence. Under Lin Dong's impregnable defense, the nirvana demon flames were becoming helpless gradually. Wisp by wisp, the dangerous nirvana demon flames started to disappear one after another. When Lin Dong saw this, he finally heaved a sigh of relief. However, when he saw these nirvana demon flames disappear, he felt that a tinge of regret. These nirvana demon flames possessed powerful killing powers. Even a 3 yuan nirvana stage practitioner would be severely injured if his or her body was being infiltrated by these flames. Hence, if he could subdue them, it will be a powerful trump card in his hands. Subdue them. Lin Dong muttered to himself as he focused his attention on those mysterious and devilish black-colored flames. Lin Dong was clearly aware of the might of the nirvana demon flame. This was something that even those experts, who had stepped into the 3 yuan nirvana stage, were extremely afraid of. If it was used appropriately, it could be considered quite a powerful killing weapon. Of course, everyone was aware of the power of the nirvana demon flame. However, all of those who were experiencing the tribulation viewed it as a painful eyesore, and all of them begged for this thing to disappear with all their might. Most people did not possess the ability, or the wild ambition, to even think about subduing the nirvana demon flame like Lin Dong did. Lin Ding was clearly someone who did things in a resolute and decisive fashion. After making up his mind, he ceased delaying any longer. A thought passed through his mind and his majestic Yuan power and mental energy appeared to have been completely activated at this moment. Buzz buzz. An enormous amount of energy buzzed within Lin Dong's body. They adopted numerous ring shapes like structures that wrapped around the nirvana demon flame. After which, the flames were gathered towards a certain spot as though there were goats being chased. At this moment, the black-colored nirvana demon flame was burning fiercely. However, this thing that was originally able to cause many people experiencing a tribulation to feel terrified of, was currently showing signs of sluggishness. This was because Lin Dong's mental energy and Yuan power had firmly wrapped around it. Regardless of how it emitted a thawing strength, it was still unable to charge out of this encirclement that could be described as terrifying. However, it was clearly an impossible task to merely rely on the Yuan power and mental energy that Lin Dong had used to surround this nirvana demon flame. The nirvana demon flame was too fierce and brutal. Ordinary individuals would be unable to force it to summit. However, Lin Dong had clearly anticipated this kind of situation earlier. If the nirvana demon flame was so simple to subdue, this thing would likely not be so rare. Buzz. A strange humming sound suddenly sounded from within the tight encirclement. Immediately, a gentle white glow cut through the encirclement and rushed out. A great amount of warm white glow was suspended in front of the yuan power and mental energy, appearing like it was the emperor. In the face of this light, even the wild and untamed nirvana demon flame actually shrunk slightly. The white glow swelled and shrunk unpredictably. At a glance, one could see that there was an ancient stone talisman suspended within it. An indescribable feeling vaguely spread out from it. The only thing within Lin Dong's body that could subdue this nirvana demon flame was naturally this mysterious ancient stone talisman. Even the current Lin Dong was unable to uncover all the mysteries of this stone talisman that had been in his hands for many years. Those various martial arts figures from back then were mostly useless for him. After all, the martial arts that he currently obtained were no longer ordinary ones. The creator of these martial arts were all renowned great individuals. Hence, the martial arts that they had spent a great effort to create was already at a level that even the stone talisman had difficulty improving. Lin Dong had tried uncovering some of the other abilities of the stone talisman. However, all of his attempts ultimately ended in failure. This was because each probing was just like sinking a rock into the ocean, and the stone talisman did not give him even the slightest response. This undoubtedly caused Lin Dong to feel a little dispirited. As more time passed, he could only allow nature to take its course. After all, this stone talisman was in his body. If he was to be in an extremely dangerous and critical moment, at the very least, the stone talisman would instinctively intervene. This would more or less reduce some of his problems. Under Lin Dong's control, the stone talisman was suspended in front of the cluster of nirvana demon flame. Gentle rays of white glow swelled and shrunk. It might appear weak, but it was incomparably strong. Buzz. After the stone talisman was suspended for a moment, some threads of white-colored glow finally rushed out from it. They interlaced with one another and directly formed a large net that covered the nirvana demon flame. The nirvana demon flame was naturally unwilling to be captured when faced with these light net that were charging over. Immediately, a fire seedling wiggled. Its melting strength spread and melted the light net away. Sizzle sizzle. However, this melting clearly did not achieve a crushing weed-like easy effect. That pale white-colored light net might appear weak, but it did not move even under that melting strength. That manner was as though the nirvana demon flame's melting ability was completely ineffective against it. The light net was immune to this melting strength. This had naturally greatly reduced the tactics of the nirvana demon flame. The light net rushed over and immediately covered the nirvana demon flame within it. After which, the nirvana demon flame was unable to break free regardless of how it struggled. Crushing great pressure. Lin Dong's mind observed this particularly successful scene before he smiled. After which, a thought passed through his mind and the stone talisman rushed out. It directly appeared on the light net and a warm white glow was emitted. Under the scattering of this light, the originally wildly struggling nirvana demon flame actually became strangely quiet. The ability of the stone talisman had once again exceeded Lin Dong's expectations. That nirvana demon flame, which had gave him much headaches earlier on, had submitted obediently to him. This caused Lin Dong to involuntarily sigh quietly once again. This stone talisman was indeed mysterious. Gather. The stone greatly suppressed the nirvana demon flame as the light net suddenly squeezed it wildly. Immediately, the nirvana demon flame within it was pressured and began to swiftly shrink. Numerous wild and violent ripple was continuously scattered from it. However, in the face of the pressure from the stone talisman, it was impossible for it to spread. The nirvana demon flame's size was becoming increasingly small. However, its color had become increasingly deep. Faintly, a destructive ripple surfaced from it. The large cluster of nirvana demon flame began to disappear. Replacing it were 5 deep black-colored small points. A moment later, these points swelled a little before finally completely solidified into the size of a thumb. 5 thumb-sized black-colored beads were quietly suspended within the light net. They were completely silent, but they possessed an aura that caused one's heart to tremble. Those nirvana demon flame earlier had actually been directly suppressed by Lin Dong into 5 fiery black beads. A joy surged up Lin Dong's heart when he saw these 5 thumb-sized unique black beads. After which, his tightly shut eyes slowly opened. He gripped with both of his fingers and a black bead appeared between them. These black beads that were formed from the agglomeration of the nirvana demon flame were not hot. On the contrary, they were a little icy cold. However, Lin Dong was aware that once this small thing became rampant, it was likely sufficient to reduce a 3-yuan nirvana stage expert into an extremely miserable state. This thing, let's call it nirvana fiery thunder bead. Lin Dong played with this black-colored bead. Despite suppressing all of the nirvana demon flame in his body, he had only obtained 5 such nirvana fiery thunder bead. However, he believed that this thing would definitely help him out tremendously in the future. It is really a nirvana tribulation with great reward. Lin Dong flicked his fingers and kept those nirvana fiery thunder beads into his body. After which, he stretched his lazy waist. Immediately, a crackling sound was emitted from all over his body. A powerful sensation that Lin Dong had never felt before spread across his entire body. Finally, it flowed within his body and galloped like flood water, appearing forceful and strong. A satisfied smile slowly climbed onto Lin Dong's face. After 4 months of bitter training, his strength had similarly encountered an earth-shaking transformation. The current him was as different as the sky and the earth compared to when had just entered the ancient treasure trove. An expert, who had endured through 3 nirvana tribulation, could definitely be considered an outstanding existence even in the entire ancient battlefield. Although there were definitely even more powerful people above him, Lin Dong was not afraid. Currently, he possessed many trump cards, and he had difficulty finding a match amongst those 3-yuan nirvana stage experts. Even those experts, who had stepped into the 4-yuan nirvana stage, would likely find it difficult to defeat him. Lin Dong leaped up from the ancient training platform. He sensed the various activity within his body a little. Only after sensing that there was not the slightest unusual activity, did he raise his head and threw his gaze into the distant. An enormous light cocoon was suspending in mid-air a couple of 100 feet away from the Pill River. Black and white-colored glow lingered around it. A dense life and death aura was spreading apart, appearing to have developed into a ring of life and death. Currently, this light cocoon had undoubtedly swelled by dozens of times as compared to 4 months ago. Lin Dong was also able to sense the originally weak aura within it was growing stronger at a shockingly rapid pace. Most importantly, Lin Dong had begun to sense a genuine aura of the flesh from within that light cocoon. Little Martin had the body of a demonic spirit, and definitely did not possess any flesh. However, such an aura had actually appeared within this light cocoon at this moment. It seemed that the effect of the samsara pill was really beginning to be unleashed. It should be soon. Lin Dong softly muttered to himself, as he sensed the withering blood aura. Little Martin had already entered a deep retreat for 4 months. If nothing overly unexpected happens, it is likely that he would exit very soon. The little Martin that came out would be a genuine celestial demon Martin that stood at the top of the food chain in the demonic beast world. Lin Dong's heart was quite curious about the little Martin in that condition. The giant black and white cocoon of light silently floated within the Pill River. Life and death halos hovered around it, transforming into various peculiar sights. Waves after waves of dense aura of blood and flesh wiggled within the light ring of life and death. Faintly, there was a vaguely present ferocity that was difficult to conceal, spreading within the aura. It was as though the light cocoon was birthing an extremely fierce beast. Lin Dong stood beside the Pill River. His eyes were a little anxious as he watched the light cocoon, whose glow was swelling and shrinking unpredictably. Although he had confidence in little Martin, he still felt a little worried in his heart. Forming a physical body was no ordinary move. Even those experts, who had stepped into the 9-yuan nirvana stage, were unable to do something like this. Hence, there was naturally tremendous amount of risk involved. It had already been many years since Lin Dong became acquainted with little Martin. The latter had also played a vital role in Lin Dong being able to reach his current stage. Both of them could be considered to have quite a deep relationship. If any accident was to occur to little Martin here, it was likely that it would be quite a big blow to Lin Dong. You cannot die at such a time. Lin Dong clenched his hand slightly and muttered to himself. Boom. Lin Dong was halfway through muttering with himself, when the light cocoon, that had been quiet for 4 months, suddenly trembled intensely at this moment. A wild and violent air wave spread apart, lifting waves on this Pill River. Huh! This sudden activity had also caused Lin Dong to be startled. His eyes hurriedly looked over, only to see that the surface of the light cocoon had actually begun to reveal a layer of purple-black luster. A kind of extremely ferocious suction force suddenly surged out from within the light cocoon when the purple-black color appeared. Under this wild and violent suction force, the interior of the Pill River immediately became chaotic. Numerous light pillars that were formed from the nirvana chi surged out from within the Pill River. Finally, it completely charged into the light cocoon, like a jet of water being poured into it. Suck suck. The nirvana chi had just made contact with the light cocoon when it was directly sucked into it, without emitting any activity. The nirvana chi poured wildly into the light cocoon. However, that light cocoon was just like a bottomless pit. Regardless how much nirvana chi poured into it, it still did not show any signs of pausing. Lin Dong's eyes were a little surprised when he saw the Pill River that had been turned upside down. He could sense that the nirvana chi that was being gathered within the Pill River was being swiftly absorbed by the light cocoon at a shocking pace. This greedy rate of absorption. It is no wonder little Martin said that forming a physical body would require an extremely vast amount of energy. If it was not for this Pill River, it was likely that there would be an insufficient amount of energy for little Martin to swallow even if Lin Dong gave all of his nirvana pill. Crash! With such a great amount of nirvana chi being poured in, the purple-black luster on the light cocoon also became increasingly dense and deep. Under Lin Dong's focus, this kind of greedy absorption continued for an entire day. That greedy manner caused Lin Dong's head to feel a little numb. This celestial demon Martin was actually this frightening. The amount of energy it needed had actually reached such an extent. Fortunately, this kind of uncontrolled devouring did not continue for long. Otherwise, it was likely that even with a Pill River as a foundation, little Martin would still be able to swallow it completely. Crack! This kind of uncontrolled swallowing lasted until the afternoon of the next day, when a slight cracking sound suddenly entered Lin Dong's ears. This sound was not loud. However, it was extremely ear-piercing when Lin Dong heard it. Immediately his entire body trembled and his eyes looked towards light cocoon that had completely turned purple-black in color. His eyes suddenly shrunk. This was because he saw threads of crack lines slowly spreading out. He was aware that little Martin's retreat was about to be end. The crack lines appeared one after another. Half an hour later, Lin Dong's unblinking eyes spread over the entirety of the light cocoon. A mysterious and deep purple-black light seeped out from within those crack lines. That kind of fierce aura was becoming increasingly dense. Crack, crack. A fragment of the light cocoon finally fell from it when the number of crack lines had reached its limit. Bang! This fragment of the light cocoon that had fallen appeared, just like the final pressure that would spark the volcanic eruption. At that instant, an enormous light cocoon directly exploded in front of Lin Dong's shrunk eyes. An incomparably majestic purple-black glow directly charged to the clouds, appearing just like an atrium. The entire sky had been covered by a purplish-black, mysterious light glow at this moment. Lin Dong raised his head. His eyes stared intently at the permeating purple-black light gao. An incomparably large black figure slowly gathered at that spot. After which, a puff sound appeared. 200 feet large purple-black bats shot out from the light glow. It fanned slightly and a wild and violent hurricane swept over. Enormous bat wings flapped and a pair of faint purple-colored glowing eyes surfaced from within the black-purple curtain. After which, it raised its head and let out a sharp howl. Howl. A strange and unique howling voice that appeared to be real, carried a kind of wild joy and excitement that could not be concealed, as it spread over the light curtain in a deafening manner. The Pill River below was also shaken to the point where many great waves were created. Those sonic waves spread in all directions, and Lin Dong was also wrapped within it. Seeing this, Lin Dong waved his hand and a circular light barrier spread out from within his body, covering him within it. Boom boom. The sonic wave struck onto the gold light barrier, causing waves of intense ripples to appear over it. However, it did not completely burst apart. Lin Dong did not bother about the ripple on the gold light barrier. His eyes were staring intently at the sky. The purple-black light curtain at that spot had gradually disappeared. After which, 100 feet large demonic beast, that had a shocking visual impact, appeared in front of his eyes. That was 1,000 feet enormous demonic beast, which was completely purple-black in color. A pair of large bat wings slowly spread behind it, appearing to cover the sky and sun as it did. Its two purple-black arms were thick and huge. There seemed to be some mysterious symbols flashing over it, emitting a frightening feeling as it did so. Those arms were exceptionally large, and their sharp nails flickered with a cold glint. That kind of sharpness was such that Lin Dong felt his body turn chill upon seeing it. He did not doubt that this pair of claws possessed a frightening strength that could easily rip through him. Clamor. The enormous beast was suspended in the sky. That pair of large bat wings on his back flapped slowly, as an aura that could not be described swept out from within his body. Even the sky itself appeared somewhat dim under this aura. This was a true peerless, fearsome beast. This kind of feeling was such that even that green dragon, which Lin Dong had seen earlier, appeared a little weaker when compared with it. Is this the actual body of the celestial demon Martin? Lin Dong looked at this enormous beast that caused even him to feel a great amount of pressure. His eyes were filled with a shocked expression, as he softly muttered to himself. In the past, he had always heard little Martin blowing the trumpet, saying just how mighty and unbeatable it was. However, Lin Dong had never placed those words in his heart. Only after he had personally seen the actual body of the celestial demon Martin, did he have no choice but to believe that this tribe might really possess the terrifying domineering aura that could devour the dragon tribe. The heaven demon Martin was suspended in the sky as it howled towards it. The soul-stirring howl only weakened gradually after a long time. It slowly lowered its head after that, and its pair of mysterious and unique purple-black eyes looked towards Lin Dong. Lin Dong raised his head. His eyes made contact with it, but did not shrink back even a little because of the latter's soul-stirring aura. Bang! The eye contact lasted for an instant before an extremely sharp, cold glint suddenly shot out from the celestial demon Martin. Both of its wings were flapped and it actually transformed into a ray of light that shot out. That golden claw that could easily penetrate through a 3-yuan nirvana stage expert directly shot towards Lin Dong. This scene caused Lin Dong to be slightly startled. His eyes merely stared at the pair of purple-black eyes. The golden body cover that originally wrapped around his body automatically scattered at this moment. Lin Dong was able to see a familiar emotion within those pair of eyes. He did not believe that Little Martin would attack him. Swoosh! Little Martin's speed was so quick that it was impossible to describe. After merely a flash, it penetrated through the sky, carrying an enormous dark shadow as it appeared in the air above Lin Dong. That pressure was sufficient to cause one to tremble with fear. Bang! Little Martin's purple-black eyes stared at Lin Dong. That kind of sharp, chilling glow became increasingly dense. In the next instant, its claw was swung out. However, the claw suddenly changed direction just when it was about to make contact with Lin Dong's body. Instead, it actually smashed towards an empty space behind Lin Dong. Little Martin's somewhat densely cold voice resounded over this space after this sharp wind from its claws shot out. Come out now. When Little Martin's claw swiped across the air, it seemed that even the dimension of space was being ripped apart. Even Lin Dong's facial expression changed drastically at this moment. However, his facial expression did not change because of Little Martin's attack, rather it was because of what Little Martin had shouted earlier. There was someone hidden in this place. He had been training silently for this period of time, and he did not sense the presence of anyone else. However, what else could Little Martin's words imply? Someone had been spying on them all this while. As this thought materialized in his mind, a cold shiver went through his entire body. Resplendent golden glow surged out from Lin Dong's body. With a sharp tap on the ground with the balls of his feet, Lin Dong flew up into the sky. Then, he made a sharp turn in the mid-air and stared gravely at the space of nothingness, where Little Martin's attack was directed at. Little Martin's attack was extremely ruthless. A purple-black glow was coagulating in its claws. Even Lin Dong's eyes froze when he witnessed that kind of might. Ha ha, truly deserving to be called a celestial demon, Martin. Your attacks are always merciless. Under the fixated gaze from Lin Dong, a ripple undulated bizarrely from the space of nothingness. Then, an old man-sounding laughter came through. As the laughter came through, a wizened hand reached out from within and waved lightly. A seemingly gentle gust of wind blew across, and expelled Little Martin's powerful sharp claws violently. Little Martin's huge body recoiled slightly. A somber look appeared in its purple-black eyes. It then descended from the sky and landed beside Lin Dong. Its enormous bat wings flapped slightly, forming a hurricane that engulfed and protected Lin Dong. Who is he? Lin Dong asked softly after he shot a glance at the fiendish Little Martin. I don't know, but is quite powerful. We better be careful. My physical body just finished its formation, and I haven't fully recovered my powers yet, Little Martin replied in a deep voice as it shook its head. Lin Dong's eyebrows folded slightly. He could not understand why a mysterious practitioner would appear in the depths of the Green Dragon Temple. Lin Dong and Little Martin's gazes were fixated at that distorted space, waiting sternly for something to happen. Under their gazes, the distortion of that space became more and more severe. Finally, a wizened figure appeared slowly before their eyes. That figure belonged to an old man, who was wearing a coarsely made hemp garment. Not a bit of powerful energy waves could be sensed from his body. In addition, his aged face was ordinary without any special features. If not for his mysterious appearance, Lin Dong would have treated him as an ordinary old man. That old man looked smilingly at the watchful Lin Dong and Little Martin, without showing any signs of aggression. At the same time, he was examining this place unhurriedly. So this is the depths of the Green Dragon Temple. It seems that the remnant of that person has already disappeared. If not, an old fellow like me could not have entered this place. Upon hearing the old man's muttering words, Lin Dong raised his eyebrows slightly. The remnant that he was talking about must be Qing Ji. And because of Qing Ji's remnant's disappearance, this dimension of space had lost its protection, therefore enabling that old man of unknown origin to break in. Elder. Lin Dong stared at the old man and cupped his hand in salute. His tone was rather polite. Even though Lin Dong did not know anything about the old man's origin, the latter did not seem like a simple individual, and it was best not to offend such person. Don't worry, old fellow, me is just curious about this place. For many years, I have tried to enter this place, but was stopped every time. That old man seemed to have noticed Lin Dong's worries, and at once, he smiled and appeared rather friendly. Lin Dong's facial expression did not change, but his thought was spinning. The ancient battlefield only opened during the 100 Empire War. If this old man could come in at will, it would imply that this old man's identity was indeed unusual. Hey, I'm afraid you have spying on us for quite a while now. Little Martin sneered. I'm just interested in this young fellow, the old man laughed while looking at Lin Dong. He then continued, I guess someone who possesses the devouring ancestral symbol will be a rather phenomenal entity in the universe, after he matures in the future. Lin Dong's eyes sank slightly. Naturally, he knew of the importance of the devouring ancestral symbol. This artifact was powerful enough to arouse numerous practitioners' greed. If this old man was to fancy it, it would be troublesome for Lin Dong now. The purple dark glow in little Martin's eyes solidified. Indistinctly, there was an extremely tyrannical aura coming out of its eyes. Clearly, it was a sign of preparing to attack once any disagreement arose. I have no intention to fight with you. Even though you are a celestial demon, Martin, you have just formed your physical body and your powers have not recovered to the 1/10 of your peak form's powers. Therefore, you are no match for me, the old man chuckled indifferently. Apparently, he was unconcerned with little Martin's aggressive aura. Let's give it a go. Little Martin's eyes gravened. Just as it was about to take actions, Lin Dong waved his hand and stopped it. He knew that the old man was speaking the truth. Even if he and little Martin combined forces, they would not be a match for the old man. Since Elder don't have ill intentions, it appears that both of us have worried over nothing. Since we have just completed our trainings, we do not wish to stay here any longer. Goodbye then, Lin Dong smiled humbly at the old man. Then, he cupped his fists to bid farewell and prepared to leave with little Martin. Young fellow whose name is Lin Dong, I'm rather interested in you and therefore, I will kindly tell you something. Once your friend, the celestial demon Martin standing beside you, reveals its identity, you will be in big trouble. The old man suddenly looked at Lin Dong and said plainly. Lin Dong's leaving figure froze abruptly and his eyebrows knitted tightly. He then asked gravely, Elder, what do you mean by these words? The Eastern Xian region's relationship with the Demon City is not exactly peaceful. Both sides have crossed swords a few times. Currently, some of the Eastern Xian region's super sect's core members have been killed by the members of the Demon City. Furthermore, the tribe that is responsible for most killings is the notorious celestial demon Martin tribe. Therefore, if your friend, the celestial demon Martin, reveals its identity now, not only will you not be chosen by those super sects, you may even draw devastating calamity to yourself. Lin Dong's facial expression changed slightly. Given his current status, it was clear that he was not qualified to know about such grudges. Grandpa Martin did not kill your people. Little Martin roared coldly. Ha ha. As long as you are one of the celestial demon Martins, that's enough, the old man apathetically Then, he continued, there's no need for you to keep staring at me. I have no grudges against the celestial demon Martin tribe. Otherwise, I will not be talking to both of you in a such peaceful manner. I just don't want an impetuous person like you to reveal your identity and draw devastating troubles to the young fellow beside you. Little Martin's eyes slightly relaxed. Finally, it gave a cold snort and never said anything else since then. Lin Dong groaned deeply. Then, he solemnly cupped his fists towards the old man and said, Elder, thanks a lot for the reminder. I will make sure that my friend tries its best not to reveal its identity as a celestial demon Martin in this eastern Xian region. Even though little Martin had a demonic beast's body, it had a lot of tricks up its sleeves. As long as it did not display its current physical form, ordinary people would not detect its identity as a celestial demon Martin. It's fate that we can meet each other in such a place. I'm merely giving you some advice. However, I feel that we will have the chance to meet again in the future. The old man stared deeply at Lin Dong and smiled. I'm rather curious to see how will you fare in the upcoming 100 Empire War. This time around, the 100 Empire War have some extremely troublesome and evil individuals. I will try my best, Lin Dong replied softly. He was from a low-ranked empire. As compared to those super empires' talents, who enjoyed God-given resources, there were naturally some disparities. The practitioners from those super empires have dominated the 100 Empire War's Nirvana Golden rankings for many years. I think if someone from a low-ranked empire can take up a placing among them, it will be quite interesting. The old man chuckled jokingly. Nirvana Golden rankings. Lin Dong was slightly startled. Nirvana Golden rankings and Nirvana rankings differed by one word, and yet, Lin Dong could feel that there was an extremely huge difference between these two words. The old man merely smiled. Without explaining anything and with a jolt of his body, the old man gradually faded. After a moment, he completely disappeared from this dimension. Lin Dong was somewhat bewildered at this old man, whose origin was mysterious and the way he talked was subtle and ineffable. Lin Dong could only shake his head in disbelief. This old fellow should be a member of a super sect. Little Martin finally opened its mouth to speak, while looking at the spot where the old man had disappeared into. Lin Dong nodded his head slightly. Other than those super sects who controlled this dimension, there was no one else who could enter and exit the ancient battlefield at will. Little Martin, change back to your human form. If you leave this place in this form, I'm afraid it may cause a commotion. Lin Dong turned his head around and reminded little Martin. After being reminded by the mysterious old man, Lin Dong had no choice but to be more prudent. If little Martin really revealed its identity, both of them would be in trouble. Those super sects that had grudges against the celestial demon Martin tribe might take it out on little Martin. Okay. Little Martin heeded Lin Dong's words. Even though it understood the reason behind this, it was mincing with embarrassment. This scene surprised Lin Dong, and yet, he still had to remind little Martin. Under Lin Dong's reminders, there was nothing much little Martin could do about it. Dense purple-black glow surged out from its body, and its enormous body started to shrink rapidly. As the glow surged, little Martin's body finally became human-sized. After the glow dissipated, a humanoid figure appeared before Lin Dong. The figure's facial expression was slightly rigid. The figure before him was a young man, who was wearing a purple-black garment. The youth was extremely elegant and handsome. The smile on his face made him seem devilish yet extremely striking, and some girls would be smitten with such facial features once they saw him. Lin Dong was not a girl, and hence, he would not be smitten with him. However, for a moment, he was stunned. He simply could not associate little Martin with these facial features with the sly and wicked image that he had of little Martin in the past. Grandpa Martin. The corner of Lin Dong's mouth twitched as he looked at the embarrassed youth before him. He suddenly got the urge to kick the youth. This video will end here.